Most of the time, horror movies that feature monsters only revolve around one type of it. Whether it's zombies, aliens, sentient killer dolls, or immortal serial killers, nobody else joins their party. But some movies do feature multiple monsters in them, and those are fun as hell to watch. Some examples include Trick or Treat and A Cabin in the Woods. I only say those examples because those are the only two I've watched that do it, but regardless, the reason that I say that is because Shake, Rattle, and Roll episodes are the same in that they only feature one type of monster. But not for the first episode in this installment of Shake, Rattle, and Roll, so sit back and relax as I tell you the story of... Our first story begins with Donald begging for his cousin Myra for a loan, because his estranged wife wants to move their daughter from America to a different place. As they're talking, a phone rings and Myra's daughter Gladys picks it up, telling her it's about their uncle. Myra turns to Donald, wondering if they even have an uncle. And I'm wondering, why are you asking about that? You're Filipino, you probably got 10 different fucking uncles on one side of your family alone. As Myra finishes opening this cardboard box, we get the title of our first story called Pamana, or Inheritance. We then move to their uncle's house where this butler introduces Uncle Lando to his nieces and nephews. I know what you're thinking, and I looked it up. Apparently, this is normal to avoid bodily fluids leaking out. I have to be honest, I really want that mortician from Wired, Victor M. Sweeney, to react to this picture. Here we also meet two more of their cousins, this being Faye, this fuckboy Konya looking ass Benedict, as well as Myra's son, Philemon. Donald reveals that their uncle is a big shot horror writer and that he is a big fan of his movies, though his other cousins do not know him, with Myra assuming that his work is probably trash. The butler reveals that they are his only living relatives, and before he died, he had people look for them. The butler then goes on to tell what happened with Lando. Apparently, all of his friends and co-workers plagiarized his work, all the while mocking his stories, and so he locked himself up in his house, eventually dying. So all the people that you knew stole your work, and your bright idea to get back at them is to hole up in your house? If this dude was American, he'd have already sued them for all their shit. Hey fuckboy, what do you think about this?
Radical!
Butler continues explaining that Lando has 20 million pesos in savings and left it to them as their inheritance. But they will have 1 month before they can take it, and in that month, if any of them were to die, the remaining people will split their share.
Bummer.
Can you shut the fuck up? He continues, saying that that's not all. He leads them to a room where Philemon finds some of his old films. The butler returns and he reveals Mang Lando's masterpieces. Condenado, a Dracula-type vampire. Filomena, who is actually a manlalayog, a creature spawning from Cagayan de Oro. In the day, she resembles a normal woman, but at night, she seduces men into the woods, where the only thing getting put into any hole is her hair being stuffed into the victim's various orifices. Oh, and she can also turn herself into a boar or a wolf. Chanak, who is, well, a Chanak, it's a monster that can turn itself into a baby and maul you to death if you go near it. And Rosalda, a ghost who can stop playing piano because if she does, someone nearby will die. Faye and Myra are reluctant to take it until the butler reveals that if they don't take it and don't take care of it, they're not gonna get the money. With that information in mind, Myra takes Condenado, Donald takes Rosalda, Faye gets Chanak, and Benedict is left with Filomena. But he immediately trashes it out. They go their separate ways and not even a minute passes as Myra has Philemon throw Filomena in the trash. Those names make it so fucking confusing. Also, Myra is the one who's arguably the most excited about this money. You have 1 month. How are you so sure that that butler isn't gonna check up on that art piece? Even if you don't want it, just store it in your bodega or something, for fuck's sake. As Faye is talking with her lover, or husband, it was never really clear, we actually learned that we have jumped forward in time with 10 days remaining until the said payday. Here we also meet Emerson, who's courting the reluctant daughter of Faye, Cynthia. Afterwards, we get an emotional scene with Donald, who's reading his daughter's letters written in a yellow pad paper. If your letters aren't written on scented paper, does it really count? We then get a scene with Benedict talking with his friend, or lover, it was never really clear, stating his current predicament. Say radical one more fucking time and I'm gonna bash your head in with this fucking arnis. Someone gets to him before me though, as he sees a shitty CGI pig in his bedroom. He grabs a fire extinguisher and throws it at the pig, but it's not that effective as the pig turns into Bayonetta. Filomena. Scared, he tries leaving, but when he opens the door, Filomena is waiting for him and grabs him with her hair and crushes him to death in the process. We move to Myra's house as she's doing Chores? It's not that important. What is important is her showing some maternal love for her son. She sees some smoke coming from the adjacent room where she sees a coffin in the middle of the dining room. She kicks it and some spooky shit starts happening as the coffin opens up, revealing Dracula. I mean, Condenado. Are we sure that Mang Lando is the one whose ideas got stolen? Condenado gets closer to Myra, calling her his Rosine, and Myra reveals that she actually knows some vampire lore. She stabs Condenado with freedom and they run out of the house as Condenado turns into a bat. They escape with the help of her husband Benji. Our cast groups up at Faye's house where Myra tells them what happened to him, with Donald being the only one who's excited that his uncle's works are coming to life. The NBI arrives at her house where they learn of Benedict's death. Myra shows her true colors as she celebrates the fact that they're getting his share, while the others are just confused of what's happening. They all go back to their uncle's home, but as they enter, Philemon sees a child standing outside just before the door closes. They go to the room where their uncle's body was supposed to be, but they find it missing. Eventually, they light up a candle where they see the butler's dead body with his mouth agape. They leave his body there and try calling for help, but they find that the phone lines have been cut. They then try leaving, but find all the doors around the house are locked. They also find out that the windows have been barred from the outside. With no way out, they hang around the living room for a bit when Philemon hears some weird laughing coming from the other side of the house. Myra gets angry as Philemon keeps getting distracted by the sound when suddenly they see a shitty CGI top spinning at the table. Okay, I get CGI. I do. As much as I hate CGI in my movies, I do get it. But usually CGI is used for monsters or effects that would be more expensive if done practically, like blood, fire, or explosives. But a spinning top? I don't know shit about making movies, but couldn't you just make a cheap fucking motor and just stick that under the table? Myra gets unreasonably angry at Philemon again, and when asked by Donald as to why she is like that to Philemon, she reveals that he's not actually her son, but a son that Benji had with another woman that she just adopted. Philemon hears all of this in the other room as the top finally comes to a stop. Bars. Donald finds Philemon crying and tries comforting him, but it doesn't work. Meanwhile, as Faye is conducting some internal monologue while she's fucking pissing, the Chanak peeks from the bathtub beside her as the clock strikes midnight. At the same time, Philomena in her pig form appears in the kitchen. The Chanak slashes at Faye's legs with his tiny little sword and bro just kicked the shit. Oh, he did. Not bad. She runs out of the bathroom as the Chanak is chasing her, while in the other part of the house, Philomena turns into her human form and Condenado also enters the fray. Philemon escapes Philomena and again, confusing fucking name choices, as the Chanak corners Faye and gets whacked with a trophy for it. Chaos continues as Emerson gets left behind with Condenado, Benji locks himself up in a room, and Philemon hides while the rest has a brief reunion at the stairs. But they eventually split up again as Donald is left wondering where Philemon is.
Philemon! Philemon!
Wait a minute. Wait just a goddamn minute. You wrote those names just for that joke, didn't you? You fuck! Donald runs away, and as he gets shooed by his other cousins, he hears piano playing in the other room. Meanwhile, Faye drops a bomb on Gladys by saying that she's surprised that Myra treats her so well, despite being a child born out of wedlock. Donald investigates the piano playing and finds Rosalda, where he actually gets excited to meet her. Philemon comes out of hiding to see the kid that he saw earlier and shows him some magic, as Emerson gets surrounded by Condenado, Philomena, and the Chana. Donald leads Rosalda to help them out and she points him to some of his uncle's older stuff. As this little shit pushes Philemon back into hiding, all the other monsters inexplicably disappear one by one. Donald goes to the box that Rosalda pointed out, and in it he finds his uncle's notes and illustrations for Boo-Boy the Little Devil, the final monster that his uncle created and is the most powerful and the most evil one among his monsters, as well as having the power to control them. As Donald reads the monster's descriptions, Benji comes out of hiding and meets said monster. Much like what his uncle wrote, Boo-Boy kills Benji by playing around with him first, and in a segment that actually looks pretty fucking cool, grabs his heart and eats it, then shapeshifts into Benji, with the real Benji's body turning into a roll of film. That part's a little weird to me. The women start screaming as they discover Emerson's dead body, leading to Cynthia mourning her loss like, bitch! You never gave a shit about him. What the fuck are you crying for? The poor dude kept getting rejected and in the end he got ganked by 3 fucking monsters and died. Actually, now that I think about it, why the fuck was he even there in the first place? Donald shares what he found to the others, and as he looks around the house for Philemon, Gladys confronts her mother about what she learned earlier.
Talagang dito pa tayo magdadrama? Eto pinapatay na mga tao?
Domestic abuse aside, she's right. Myra and Faye get into a screaming match, but the story's about to end, so it's not that important. Dawn stops their bickering, and as Myra leaves the room, she sees her husband and gets a taste of her own medicine. Buboy shows his true form and knocks the people coming to him out on their asses. Philemon comes out of hiding to beat Buboy with a broom, but when Faye insists that she does it, she gets frozen into place. Cynthia and Philemon grab a hold of Faye and get frozen themselves as the door to the outside open up. Myra is glad to leave, but Donald decides to be dumb and plays Ice Ice Too Big with them. Myra and Gladys head outside as the others get added to his roll of film. And he glows? Again, that part's a little weird. They get into a taxi with a slowly moving Philemon going towards them. Philemon also enters the taxi and hands them a letter containing 4 checks worth 5 million pesos each. They leave as Philemon smiles with a twinkle in his eye. To me, that story started off strong, but then kind of fizzled out in the end. Oh well. On to the next one. This story starts with random radio chatter as the title shows itself as The Lost Command. Now to spoil the story a bit, this is the one about zombie terrorists, and I know that Nazi zombies already exist in the movie Dead Snow. I have not watched that movie, but I'm willing to bet that ours are cooler because ours fucking talks. We see a group of soldiers led by Lieutenant Garces rummaging through the woods. As they get to the edge of the forest, Master Sergeant Barrientos sees another soldier waving at them. When Private Conde asks what he is waving at, he looks back and he disappears. When Barrientos reports this dude collapsing, Garces orders them to fire in different directions simultaneously. Is that an actual military strategy? They all move closer to the woods where they hear someone laughing and another conducting a marching cadence. Barrientos shoots someone charging at him, and when they get closer to check on the body, they see the place littered with dead bodies of soldiers and ordinary citizens. Garces orders Corporal Upaon to report to their base, but he is met with static noise. They see someone still alive, but the only helpful thing he manages to say is Captain Baldog and flesh eaters. They move deeper into the forest where Lieutenant Garces briefs them on their mission. Apparently they're there to counter an insurgency of an unknown group led by Captain Baltog. With that information, they all head to their next destination, Barangay Pototan. They get there where they see this kid, Bantug, hiding atop a tree. Barrientos interrogates him and Bantug gives a flashback where he saw his father getting forcefully recruited by soldiers that turn into zombies, and apparently has access to the Speed Force. They hold up for the night, and as Upaon and another soldier is guarding the perimeter, they get ambushed by the zombie soldiers, with Upaon getting bitten in the shoulder. The rest of the troops go to their aid, but one by one they get taken out by the soldiers swinging around the trees, with Lieutenant Garces also being abducted. With their CO gone, they go back to Pototan to discuss what they need to do next. Barrientos wants to find their missing troops, but Conde disagrees and wants to go back to their base. Bantug steps up saying he knows where to find them, but in exchange he wants a gun, and they give it to him but without a magazine. Ah yes. Let's order this child to lead us straight to the enemy with no means of defending himself. I feel like that's a war crime. The next day, they head out in search for their fellow soldiers when they encounter a girl just standing there in the middle of the woods. They approach her asking what she does, and she is the most infuriating person to talk to.
Kayo ba?
Kami?
Ang papalit.
Papalit saan?
Sa mga nasawi.
Finish your sentences, you little bitch! She tells them of her father's camp and she leads them there. Bantog, you have officially lost your role in the story. Give me the fucking gun. As they are crossing the river to head to their camp, we see that she can't. Weren't you making eye contact with them a few seconds ago? Because I'm pretty sure you're staring into their eyes. They continue on, and as you probably already predicted, her father is a zombie soldier. They get into a confrontation with the father, but as he lives with a threat, we hear another marching cadence in the distance. Now listen. I am alone at the... No, but for real, the first time that I watched this movie was back in 2012 when it first came out. And I have not watched this movie since then before making this video. But I have to say that the following scene has been living rent-free in my mind ever since. Because as they're confused as to what's happening, a zombified Lieutenant Garces strolls in with his new friends, and the way he introduces himself as now being a part of this splendid group of insurgents is just amazing.
Piratang bulag!
Sa tulong ng 3 personas
Nang lagim at dugo!
ay wino-welcome namin kayo sa bagong hukbong sandatahan ng Republika ng Bagong Bayan,
Mula timog hanggang kanluran!
mula Hilaga hanggang Silangan,
Lupang hinirang! Etc.
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 I don't know what to tell you. That's just bars. Garces threatens them to surrender, but Barrientos makes it clear that they are now playing for different teams. They get attacked by these sonic zombies and Barrientos gets knocked on his ass. Upaon wakes up and finally manages a call to the base. As a hand reaches for him, he is pulled off screen. Barrientos is the next to come to and wakes up to a soldier looking at him. He goes near him, and as he sees the zombie feeding on someone, he recognizes this person as Colonel Rolando Palma, the former colonel of the Lost Command. Palma doesn't like that and tells him that his name is now Captain Baltog. Barrientos hears Upaon calling for him, and Baltog reveals that they all turn into zombies by eating tainted food provisions that he salvaged. And he keeps talking about how his dick kept getting bigger and how the blood of a virgin is an aphrodisiac. I don't really get it, but I'm just going to assume that these zombies are all horny as fuck and that they all got boners. We hear a clock toll the midnight bell as a squad of zombie soldiers march in and dig into the woman. At this point, I don't know why, but Baltog just removes all his attention on Barrientos, so he goes to check on Upaon and sees a cache of weapons in the corner. He grabs a grenade and a rifle and blows up the feeding soldiers. Did Baltog really spew all that bullshit and just leave Barrientos there? Did D&D write this story? Barrientos and Upaon run away when Barrientos sees that Upaon is about to turn, so with Upaon's pleas, Barrientos shoots him dead. Conde wakes up in this body pit and tries sneaking away but fails in doing so. Barrientos and Conde find each other and hides while Baltog conducts a roll call.
Conde! Martin Barrientos!
Why the fuck are you calling for them? Conde was stuck in a body pit, which I assume means that he's just meant to be food, and you left Barrientos on his own. I know your zombies hopped up on Viagra, but you are fucking stupid. Anyway, they get found out and try to leave, but Conde and Barrientos split up as Barrientos comes with the returning Bantug. But it turns out Bantug just wants to give Barrientos in exchange for his father. And when Barrientos fights back, Bantug just runs away, never to be seen again. Meanwhile, Conde takes a last stand but is found by another soldier named Tabios. He goes with him, but it turns out Tabios is already a zombie, and we also never see him again. As Barrientos is fighting with Baltog, he manages to fire off a flare, and he manages to escape. He is found by the blind girl's father, and he says that he will help him escape so long as he flees with his daughter. He agrees, and they run to a cliffside, which is apparently the only exit from this place. Barrientos is reluctant to jump, but when he turns around, he sees that he is already cornered. The father runs up to block them, even though I feel like he didn't need to, and Barrientos jumps. As he drifts away, he is found by a helicopter and wakes up at a hospital. He asks if anybody else survives, and the nurse reveals that yes. As a matter of fact, Upaon is here. Now, I know that reveal was meant to be dramatic, but the way that the nurse just pulls the curtain back to this face is just so fucking funny to me. Barrientos is shocked, but Upaon menacingly says that it was all a bad dream. The nurse pulls another curtain to reveal that Garces is also there. Bitch, stop pulling fucking curtains! Barrientos panics, and as Upaon stands up, we cut away to the hallway hearing screams and a zombie feeding on a nurse. Was he trying to eat her? Cause he looks like me when I'm trying to wake someone up. On to the next story. This story begins with CGI cars. Why? You CGI the weirdest things, movie. We then see an old couple talking about how excited they are to see their son Hank and meet his girlfriend. Meanwhile, Hank and his girlfriend Kate are stuck in traffic talking about how Kate wants to get an abortion. And as she says that it's her body, her choice, a huge blackout happens that affects all their cars as well. And with a slow-mo reveal, we get the title of our last story, Unwanted. Kate and Hank get to the mall where they split off as Kate goes to the bathroom to cry and Hank goes to the store to get his gift. A blackout happens again as Hank sees another grandfather clock in a fucking flower store, noting that it's 8 p.m. As he waits, he sees a robber getting escorted by security guards, and when he's about to get his gift, a huge explosion occurs in the mall. He wakes up to his phone ringing and the clock striking midnight. He walks around the ruins of the mall where he tries calling out for help. He explores some more and finds a woman trapped under a huge rubble. He's unable to lift the huge rock, so he goes off to call for help, and he does so by grabbing a rod and bangs it against an unstable surface. This predictably goes wrong as he is knocked out again by rubble. He wakes up due to the help of Tom, Neil, and Ming. I said their names for narration purposes, but if I'm being honest, you don't need to remember them. Ming tells Hank that he's been unconscious for 2 days. He remembers the girl stuck under the rubble and enlists them to help him out. They get there, but Hank finds out that the top half of the girl is missing. They then go on to find Kate, but as they're going through a tunnel, they see a strange creature hopping around, and this huge electrical eel thing walking around. At the other end of the tunnel, another monster appears that grabs Neil and just straight up fucking eats him. They run away where they find a few more survivors running away. Tom and Ming go to them when they realize they are being chased by another monster. Tom tries fighting back, but the creature's head pops out and fucking eats him. I told you didn't need to remember them. With that, Ming and Hank run away where they find Kate's bag. Hank finds Kate knocked out, but she eventually wakes up. They try and find an exit where they see this random dude and he joins them in finding an exit. Midway through, Hank and Kate start hearing this high-pitched noise and their ears start bleeding. They walk forward some more where they see a kid crying in the distance. They go near him where we see that an alien is controlling him. His silent pleas makes Hank reluctant, but Ming still goes near and gets grabbed by the alien. Hank and Kate try to help her, but their efforts are in vain. They run away to escape again when they meet up with the robber from earlier, brandishing a shotgun. He shoots the alien and it flees. Now hearing multiple screeching around them, they continue running away. They see a hooded figure in the distance and mistakes it for a priest for some reason. They go to him, but when they arrive, all they see is a strange robot? Some dude with a golden mask? I never figured out what he is. But as he stands there, menacingly, the other dude starts getting sucked up to this golden thingamajig or some shit. Hank and Kate's ears start ringing again, and with the robber starting to float up too, my guy gets sucked into it. Robber tries shooting the hooded Oscar statue, but it's ineffective as more of these guys start popping up. They manage to pull Robber and run away again, but they get cornered by the alien creatures. Robber lets Hank and Kate run away first as Robber takes a final stand, but eventually he is overwhelmed. Hank and Kate finally find an exit, but when they go out, they see the destruction of the entire world in front of their eyes, with big-ass spaceships covering the land and creatures marching down the roads. The hooded figures start popping up behind them, and the faces of the people who died earlier weirdly morphed into the faces of the aliens. And they start talking about how both of them are the chosen ones for the new world, because the twins inside Kate's belly will be the Cain and Abel of the new order, as two more hooded figures pop out with their faces weirdly morphed into it. With that being the end of Shake, Rattle, and Roll 14. What? Okay. Here's my thoughts, alright? All Shake, Rattle, and Roll episodes have the potential to be good, but they are held back by its runtime. The first story has a decent premise to explore the different monsters in Filipino folklore, but we ended up getting a Dracula ripoff, two original monsters that were never really that interesting, with the Manlalayog and the Tiyanak being the only ones that were actually based off of Filipino folklore. The second story also has an interesting premise where a lost group of soldiers are trying to make their way out of the jungle, but they are being hunted down by these zombie soldiers that also got lost before them. But again, it's held back by its runtime. And as for the last story, well, that just fucking confused me. That episode was made just to show aliens, and you cannot convince me otherwise. But what do you guys think? Was it good? Was it bad? Tell me your opinions down in the comment section below, and if you have another movie suggestion, also tell me down in the comment section below. Thanks to Zoe the Robot for this movie recommendation. I've been Nathan, I will see you around.